What's up, y'all? So today I'm going to be smoking a cigarette and talking about those negative side effects that I've experienced while smoking in the past 5 years. And stay tuned for a story at the end. Sorry for struggling so hard. But some of the negative side effects that I've experienced while smoking would definitely be memory loss, nausea, lack of breath, increased heart rate, and sometimes I get nauseous if I smoke too many cigarettes back to back on an empty stomach. And I've experienced memory loss smoking too much weed just because weed can fuck with your memory. Now, I don't smoke a pack a day, so I smoke at most, like I've said in some of my other videos, 7 a day, but sometimes it'll be up to 10. And what can happen is you can develop a cough and a little bit of a wheeze. And a habit if you're not careful about how you smoke. Now, I've never been one to need a cigarette. I've always been one to crave a cigarette. Normally if I'm drinking a good bit, that's when I like to smoke or chain smoke, but normally I wake up the next morning with like a really bad cough or I'll just be wheezing. But if the night before you say I smoked a lot of weed and I have a low tolerance and I smoked a couple of cigarettes, I'll wake up the next day pretty exhausted and my throat will probably be dried out because, you know, a mixture of weed and cigarettes will make you super dehydrated. But I have not experienced the negative side effect of spending too much money on cigarettes. I've definitely experienced the negative side effect of spending way too much money on weed, because whenever I used to be a dishwasher, I would spend essentially a third of my check just to feel happy. And that's not good, because I said in my cart video that I made the other day that I used to spend about $100 a week on carts, about 3 carts. And on top of that, I would buy maybe a couple of grams of weed. And I don't know, something just hit me one time and kind of made me think, what the fuck is the point? Why is this? Why am I doing this? And that's kind of the reason that I quit my job and why I'm now unemployed, because I was trying to wean myself off of weed. And I would say I did that, but nowadays I'll be smoking Delta 8 and, you know, that's not any better. But with vaping, I've noticed that it will just destroy your throat. It'll make you cough like a motherfucker, and coughing is not good for you because coughing does damage your throat. And whatchamacallit, there was this one time that I was bussing tables, and our dishwasher at the time, Thomas, came and grabbed me and was like, "Hey man, can you watch over the dish pit for like an hour?" And I was like, "Yeah man, that's fine. I can do that. Yeah, sure. I just have to go let Joe know." And so he gestures for me to follow him to dry storage. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on? What's he about to hand to me? So he brings me in the dried storage, takes me around the corner, reaches into his pocket, and I'm like, oh shit. And I'm like, all right, just be cool, just vibe. He's not gonna do anything weird. And then he pulls out a gram of this weed that I had never experienced. And he's like, here, you smoke? And I was like, yeah, sure, hell yeah. So I take that gram, I watch over the dish pit for the hour, fuck, I made the damn thing clean. That's why I ended up becoming a dishwasher, probably because of one of those moments. But, you know, he goes and does his thing and he comes back and, you know, it's all good. And I go home after I get off and I get this baggie out and my girlfriend's like, where'd you get that? You didn't tell me you bought weed. And I'm like, I didn't buy this. I was gifted this because I did a job for somebody. And she was like, what? And I was like, you know Thomas? She was like, the guy that got shot 8 times in the back, and he's like semi-disabled, but he still works here. I'm like, yeah, that guy. And I'm telling her about how he was just like, hey, here's some weed. And she was like, that's a little bit sketchy, but okay. So I load up my Grav, little ball cap socket and all that deal. Pull that shit, it's all milky and everything, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be good, because I hadn't had good weed in a while. And especially if you get weed from a coworker, you never know what you're gonna get. There's a good chance it's gonna be good. Considering the guy I got it from, I was thinking it was gonna be really good, because I was told by a couple of coworkers that he was a dealer at one point. Anyways, that's not the point. I get home, I pull the Grab, it's milky and all that bullshit, and I hit it, and it like does this sort of effect like icy hot, where it freezes the fuck out of my lungs, and I immediately start barfing out these coughs where I'm like, and I'm like grabbing the shit out of my chest, because I'm like, I might die. This might be laced. And after I came back to reality and I could catch my breath, I realized it was just really good weed. And I'd only had a couple of really good weed moments, but, you know, it put me on my ass. And I'd never had weed like that ever again, where it just clenched the shit out of my chest and made it feel like I was frozen, like I was like in a block of ice, you know? Moral of the story, if someone tells you to watch over their station for an hour and they gesture you, go with it. Unless they're creepy, then don't do it. I used to be the hall monitor, essentially, of the restaurant I worked at, because I would be like, how old are you? He shouldn't be flirting with you. That all that spiel of cooks flirting with like underage girls. Woo. Ooh. This is my 3rd cigarette today. I don't know if you can tell in my voice, but I'm very dehydrated. And that's the thing about Delta 8. When you hit it, it's kind of like Delta 9 in the sense of it makes you cough a good bit because you are vaping. But with Delta 8, I don't know what it does, but it does a similar effect to that weed I was mentioning, where it just squeezes the shit out of your throat. And not in a fun way, but it genuinely makes you think, oh shit, I can't breathe. I feel like I'm having an allergic reaction, like my throat is closing up because of a fucking peanut bar. I don't even know what the fuck I'm allergic to, by the way. Just to mention that, I've never found anything that I'm allergic to, and I've always wanted to take one of those tests. But, whew, I don't know. Most of the things that happen whenever I smoke that are negative are things that I can normally prevent, like getting nauseous while smoking. If I eat beforehand, then that doesn't usually happen, or if I don't smoke too much. And in the case of weed, it was usually just a matter of how much weed I had, because eventually I started to like have to space it out because I started to have a problem with it. But I will say this, I miss weed, I miss bud. I can't wait till I get a job and I can eventually go out to a legal state and be able to buy it and smoke it and then come home and just feel like I accomplished something. So I'm gonna take a hit off my Delta 8 cart, because I don't usually do this on my channel. know I've done in other videos that would probably hurt. Just because I'm pretty dehydrated. And, I don't know. I guess the only pro thing that I can mention about, like, a good thing that's happened because of smoke is, I know for a matter of fact, when it comes to smoking cigarettes versus weed, I'm like a champ when it comes to weed. If it's mid-weed, no question about it. I can smoke it. I can smoke like 3 grams in a fucking night. No deal if it's fucking mid, but if I'm able to get my hands on like good weed, I normally don't like to smoke more than 0.8 or 0.9 a night. But anyways, I told y'all a lot, I said a lot. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a like. I'm not sure if I gave a shout out to William Eadie, but you're cool for being a Patreon supporter. And yeah, if y'all want to let me know anything, there's a comment section down below for that. And if you're not subscribed, go ahead and get to it. Whew, I am out of breath. Anyways, thanks.